The trade deadline is looming, and the teams in Florida are already breaking up their squads. Can it ever work in that state?
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for quite a while now, and this is my sixth season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm doing double duty with Locked On MLB and Locked On A's. Hey, follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever it's called now. And I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And today's show is brought to you by SupplyHouse.com. It's the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, h-vac, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. And let's do one last little bit of business. Who got the trivia question right? Was it? It was Stephen Colaterra. Sorry, Stephen, it's early. 3257. The question was, who hit the first Major League Baseball home run for a Seattle franchise? And I phrased it specifically that way. Stephen, you got it right. It's Don Mincher of the Seattle Pilots. The Pilots, who existed for 1 year before becoming the Milwaukee Brewers. Thank you very much, Bud Selig. All right, well, it's that time of the year where you have to constantly refresh Major League Baseball trade rumors, the second greatest website in the history of the planet Earth, the first one being baseballreference.com. And every second you were building up towards the trade deadline, there seems to be another trade that is done. By the way, Giovanni Gallegos, who not too long ago was a quality pitcher, just got designated for assignment. But you're starting to see the Phillies acquired Carlos Estevez, who more than one person pointed out, Carlos Estevez is the real name, the birth name of Charlie Sheen. That's a really good pickup for the Phillies because Estevez is a quality pitcher. He's a good reliever when he was with Colorado, and he's a good reliever this year with the Angels. The Phillies are basically saying, we need to win now. This is a win now team. And we need to make every deal we can. We need to plug every hole we can to make this work. And they pulled off the trade earlier with Baltimore. Now they're trying to, and now they have Seranthony Dominguez and Carlos Estevez to give them bullpen depth. The team is looking better and better. And ironically, they got a complete game shutout yesterday, with their bullpen depth is getting stronger and stronger, but they got a complete game shutout yesterday. Not from Nola, not from Wheeler, but from Tyler Phillips. The Phillies are going to be so good this postseason. The big trade yesterday was Jazz Chisholm Jr., not Senior. Jr. was traded to the Yankees. The Yankees, who won that wild, weird game. They were one strike away from losing to Boston. Now they split the first two games. Today's going to be a rubber game. And I'm not convinced that game's over. By the way, I'm convinced that the Red Sox bring in pitchers and they're just automatic ball one, no matter what. The Yankees walked 48 times yesterday. I didn't think that was physically possible. But bringing Jazz Chisholm Jr. Is smart. He's a spark plug player. And the Yankees offense, for players not named Judge and not named Soto, need a spark. If I'm at the point, I'm walking Soto and Judge no matter what. Trent Grisham beat him yesterday. Fine. Let Trent Grisham beat you. Don't let Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge got on base 6 times yesterday. It's insane. So bringing in Chaz Chisholm from the Marlins, not a bad move. That seems to be a smart move. I woke up today and Jason Adam, relief pitcher, was sent packing from Tampa to San Diego. The Padres are sending 3 pitchers: Ryan Lesko, Homer Bush Jr., it's always mind-boggling when you see the son of someone who I remember when they were a rookie. I remember Homer Bush, who was an infielder for the Blue Jays and the Yankees, won a World Series ring for his troubles. And J.D. Gonzalez. Chances are those are the players that San Diego are sent packing to Tampa. San Diego's on an absolute tear right now. And watch them win the pennant with this squad. But I'm convinced that Dylan Lesko, Homer Bush Jr., and J.D. Gonzalez are the three players that the Rays have acquired from San Diego. I'm convinced that all three of them are going to go to the Hall of Fame. That's what happens when you trade with Tampa Bay. But at the same time, the Padres are taking the mindset of you make the playoffs of good pitching depth, you take your chances. Jason Adam, is he your household name? Easy for you to say? No, but he's a good reliever, and he has been for the last few years. I mean, he was a classic Tampa Bay pickup. When he was a reliever for KC. He got bounced around between KC, the Blue Jays, the Cubs. I mean, it wasn't bad, wasn't great, whatever. Comes to Tampa Bay in 2022, pitches 67 innings and posts a 1.56 ERA that year, and was solid last year, has been very good this year, and now they've flipped him for three young players. And the Padres now have a crazy amount of depth in what has already been a quality bullpen. So, and they're on a tear. And by the way, the Dodgers keep falling on their face. They fell on their face the other day. They had a big lead and then wound up being a walk-off win by the Astros. I'm not saying the Dodgers are going to blow the division, but it's not going to be the runaway that people thought it was going to be. And by the way, I made this point before. Yankee fans are in an absolute abject panic. Fire everybody, make sweeping changes and everything like that. They're a game out of first place. I know the problems, and I know that this is not a necessarily well-designed team, but they're a game out of first place. There's at some point you've got to say to Yankee fans, I understand what you're saying, but pump the brakes a tiny bit. Pump the brakes just a tiny bit. There were some other acquisitions. The Red Sox got some catching depth in Danny Jansen, and the Mets acquired Jesse Winker, who I think that's a nice pickup for the Mets. I mean, I don't think he's, I don't know if he's going to be a huge factor. But then again, who thought that Jorge Soler and Rosario were going to be huge factors for the Braves in 2021? And Winker is going to come in, give them some outfield depth. He's got some pop. And who knows, just maybe having an extra solid bat like that in the lineup. An all-star not too long ago with Cincinnati. He's bounced around. He was a solid member of the Reds and then has just been bounced around since making the all-star team in 2021. He's gone to the Mariners, the Brewers, the Nationals, now the Mets. He has a very cluttered baseball card. So there you go. Anyway, as the trades are going to keep on coming, the games are going to be a lot of fun. But one thing seems for certain, and that is players are going to be traded from a Florida team to a contender. And I personally find that to be very, very sad. And as I teased at the beginning of the show, if you've seen the thumbnail, I really think we need to have a long philosophical conversation about whether or not baseball can survive in Florida. And my thoughts behind it, I don't know, may not exactly be what is for the lack of a better word, conventional thinking on this whole topic. Hey, when you think about your pal Sully, and that's me, I'm guessing you think about how stylish I am. Clearly, you see the shirts behind me. But I like to wear clothes that make me, I don't know, look good, at least flatter me. I'm not going to wear something that that isn't to my body type. You gotta wear something that looks nice and that fits your body right. and you get a nice boost of confidence when you're wearing clothes that look pretty good. And that's why I use Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your size, your budget, and your style. They do all the shopping for you. The easiest way to update your wardrobe is through Stitch Fix. And you can work with a stylish professional that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want. No subscription required, and they send 5 just for me pieces, outfit recommendations, plus pro styling advice. I keep what works and send the rest back. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. I don't like to shop, and they save me that time and effort. Plus, I get outfits that make me look and feel really good. And if I don't love something, I just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchange are always for free. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $20 off your first fix. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $20 off. Stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up, and the offers does not include kid fixes, so don't try it. Stitchfix.com. Hey, let's feel good about how we look. Hey, where is your hub for all of your sports? Where is your hub? We're doing it live. Where is your hub for all your sports takes, your sports news, your sports opinions? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all of the fuss. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You know, let's get rid of the Stitch Fix thing there. Let me bring this up. Do you know when the last time there was positivity in Florida baseball? You have to go all the way back to last year. I don't know. It seems like a long time ago, but last year, both Florida teams were in the playoffs. Remember that? Remember the Marlins were a playoff team last year? They were in the postseason. And remember, Tampa Bay was a very good team last year. And they had home field advantage in that wild card series. And for a while, it looked like they were going to win 100 games. But like last year, the Miami Marlins, lest you forget, were a wild card team. The Cubs weren't. The Mets weren't. They won 84 games. I'm not saying they were a groundbreaking club, but Skip Schumacher did a really good job. They had Luis Ariz. They had Jesus Luzardo. They had Braxton Garrett, all having good seasons. You know, they got some power from Jorge Soler. Brian De La Cruz had a good season. Jazz Chisholm was hurt, but he came back and did well. Now, and they did it without their ace, Sandy Alcantara, who did not have a very good season, was hurt towards the end of the year. But A.J. Puck and Tanner Scott, they all did good jobs out of the bullpen, and they got some good pitching. As I said, Braxton Garrett, Yuri Perez was pretty good for a little bit. They made the playoffs, and they were a fun, exciting team. And then they got rid of Kim Ng because I think she wanted to put a good product on the field. And how are they this year? They stink. They're one of the worst teams in baseball. And along the way, they let Jorge Soler go. Along the way, Luis Ariz was traded for pennies on the dollar. And now they're guaranteed to lose 90 games. They may lose 100. And poor Skip Schumacher is stuck with this. And they're in the bottom of the attendance of the National League. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Rays, who last year looked like they were going to be a potential pennant contender, unless we forget, made the playoffs in 2019, won the pennant in the COVID year. They made the playoffs in 2021. They made the playoffs in 2022. They made the playoffs in 2023. This year, even though they are a game above 500 and are kind of hanging around the playoff situation, they've traded away Randy Arozarena, and they still have a smattering, but are they going to trade away Yandy Diaz? He's ancient at 32. They've already traded away Zach Eflin. They've already traded away Aaron Savali. They've already traded away Phil Maton. Today they traded away Jason Adams. So, and along the way, Tampa Bay's attendance is one of the worst. And they're saying, thank God for Oakland. So the easy thing to do is to say, well, hey, no one shows up to the games. What you got to do? What are you going to do? I don't take that stance. Let me look at the two teams. Let's look at the Marlins first. By the way, this is a very good book by Dave Rosenbaum. It's called If They Don't Win, It's a Shame. I'm not plugging this because I'm getting anything out of it. I've never met Dave Rosenbaum, but I've read this book. And it's about the 1997 World Series champion Marlins and how they essentially knew they were going to, that Wade Huizenga knew he was going to sell the team. And so he basically pushed all of his chips into 1 year. He was going to put everything in on 1 year and then blow it up afterwards. That seemed to be the plan. And for 1 year, the Marlins were one of the big star-studded teams in baseball. And it took me a long time to appreciate the 97 Marlins because as a World Series champion, they won one of the great Game 7s in the history of baseball, and the team was completely dismantled. And I've never seen a World Series championship have zero carryover into the next year. They were last place, one of the worst teams you ever saw because they already tore the team apart and there was nobody left. And the fans didn't show back up. And if you bring up the 97 championship to Marlin fans, and I know some Marlin fans, there seems to be a sense of resentment. Yes, they had fun that year. They had fun that World Series. But there's a resentment to what happened to the point where it only brings up bad memories. And then you take a look at what has happened with the Marlins ever since. Yes, they put together a team in 2003, won the World Series, but by 2006, that team was completely dismantled. And every single time they put together a team that looks like, hey, are we doing something here? I mean, Pudge Rodriguez was there. He won a championship, but he was only there for 1 year, much like most of those in the 97. 97 is an interesting team, not because of what it meant for Florida and Miami, but what it meant for the veterans who were on the team. Jim Leland won a World Series title, so he gets to be a World Series Hall of Fame manager, but everyone associates it with Pittsburgh and Detroit. You have players like Bobby Bonilla, Moises Alou, Kevin Brown, Gary Sheffield, Darren Dalton, Jim Eisenreich, all won their lone rings with the 97 Marlins, but are remembered with other teams. You got Miguel Cabrera won his ring with the 2003 Marlins. He's going to be remembered as a lifelong Detroit Tiger. When you think of great Marlins, you're probably going to think of Jeff Conine. You know, if the great Jose Fernandez had lived, he would have been probably a beloved Met or Cardinal. And every single time something exciting happens in Miami, they had an outfield of Christian Yelich and Giancarlo Stanton and Marcelo Ozuna with Jose Fernandez as a pitcher. And before you knew it, that whole team was disbanded. Then they got a team together that made the playoffs in the truncated 2020 season. It actually got to the division series. And then last year, they put together a team that got back to the playoffs. Can we build on this? Can we build on this? No. So if you're a Marlin fan who got the Dome Stadium, who got the what everyone thought was the problem is no one wanted to sit outside the football stadium and have it rain at 4 o'clock. They got the stadium, but they still didn't show up. Why? Think about what happened in 2012. We finally got you the stadium, and we're going to sign a bunch of stars. Mark Burley, Hanley Ramirez, Reyes, all these other players are going to come in. Ozzie Guillen's going to manage. And then before you know it, that team was torn apart. Marlin fans are Charlie Brown looking at Lucy holding that football. Can you blame them for not wanting to run up and kick again? They need to have a team built, won, and hang around for a little bit. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Miami is a place where probably a lot of players wouldn't mind living. It's freaking Miami. So make it, it's already attractive in that amount, but there is that sense of they're just going to trade you away. And when you've been doing it since freaking 1997, why should Marlin fans invest emotion in this team? Why should they say, oh, I'm going to put my hard-earned money on this team that is going to just be blown up in 2 seconds? Show me Marlin fans, show me Marlins that you can actually keep this team together. I do not blame Marlin fans for saying, do you know what? I've been burned before. I've been burned even after a World Series title. But then there's the other team, and that's a little more complicated because they do have good management, but something else is going on there. Okay, let's hear from our good friends over at SupplyHouse.com. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trade, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop for a complete inventory over 200,000 parts from over 4,000 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. That place again is SupplyHouse.com. This is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national 24/7 sports streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. Tampa Bay plays in a stadium that was built in the 80s to lure either an expansion team or to try to lure the White Sox, the Rangers, the Mariners, the Giants, any team that wanted a new stadium. It was there as a blackmail scheme to say, well, we can always play in Tampa. We can always play in Tampa. But it was built in the wrong place. It was built in St. Petersburg and built at a time before people understood the importance of the downtown stadium. It was built before Camden Yards, even though the team didn't start playing until 1998 when Camden Yards was already 6 years old. If they had held off the building on it, they would have built it in downtown Tampa. And now they're talking about possibly building a brand new stadium in Tampa, in St. Petersburg, next to where the stadium currently is. In other words, let's keep making the same mistake over and over again. So maybe, just maybe, you could take a look and say, hey, maybe the fact that they're in the wrong place is the reason no one's staying there. Because do you know what? The Rays get very good TV ratings. And Tampa Bay fans support the Lightning, just like Miami fans support the Heat and they support the Panthers. So there are sports fans there. And what they need to do is look at the Padres. The Padres were a small market team. The Padres were a small revenue team. The Padres were stuck in the worst place to put a team because they're in between Mexico and the desert and the Pacific Ocean and Los Angeles. But they invested in their team. They have a stadium in the right spot, and they put their money to sign players long-term. They haven't won anything yet, but a Padre fan knows they're going to see these players there for the next bunch of years. And guess what happens? The Padres have never drawn like this before. They're not New York. They're not Boston. They're not Philadelphia. But they should be the model. I've been doing too many A's podcasts recently to blame the fans, to know that a lot of times it's the circumstances around it that make the fans go like, I'm not going to drive all the way to St. Petersburg to see this team. I'll watch it on TV. And you see they got good TV ratings. And you see they support their hockey teams. And I'm not going to support this team when I know for generations they're just going to tear them apart. Baseball can survive in Florida, but it requires the stadium built in the right place. And if it has to be Orlando, it's Orlando, because the Rays fans are just watching on TV anyway. And if you're the Marlins, you got the stadium, you got the city. You have to keep a team together and keep it so the fans can invest. These are friends, and you keep ripping them away, and other people get to claim them. Other teams got to claim, Yelich and Stanton, just like they claimed Moises Alou and Gary Sheffield and Miguel Cabrera. Spend the money, build the team in the right place. Florida baseball can thrive. Nobody thought baseball could thrive in San Francisco. Nobody thought baseball could survive in San Diego. Cleveland kept trying to move the team left and right. Not saying Cleveland's been a dream for attendance, but they turned it around in the mid-90s. It can be done. Seattle's become successful. Other teams have become successful. But it requires, don't build the stadium in the same place, Rays. It's stupid. And Marlins, invest in the team. Look what the Padres did. And I think more people would want to live in Miami than in San Diego, although both are kind of sort of nice. Anyway, I want baseball to survive. They're good fans in both Tampa Bay and in Miami. Very good fans. In fact, they're some of the best fans of baseball. Do you know why? The ones who actually show up are showing dedication that they're still going to support this team, even though they keep punching them in the mouth. All right, full slate of games going on today, and a whole bunch of trades are inevitably going to happen, and we're going to get them. Here's the trivia question for today. Who was the Tampa Bay Rays' first ever All-Star? Put that down in the comments below. All right, full slate of games. I'm going to a game today. That's why I want to get the show in earlier. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Asking philosophical questions about Florida baseball. This is Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.